Hey guys, here we have one of these fake GTX 750 Ti video cards from eBay. If you run a search on eBay Australia looking for GTX 750 cards, you will see that most of these cards are actually fake. They're using much older cards and modifying them to appear as real GTX 750 video cards. We can also see that the few real 750 cards are selling for similar prices as our fake ones. The card comes in a fairly nice looking retail box. On the box it doesn't say anything about what card is inside, and if you put it into your computer and you run the NVIDIA driver smart scan, it really does believe that this is a GTX 750 Ti. Let's have a look at GPU set. On the right side is my Gigabyte GTX 750 Ti, and we can see it has 640 shaders, 40 texture mapping units. We also have 2 GB of GDDR5 video memory with a 128-bit memory interface. On the left we have our fake GTX 750 Ti, and we can see it has only got 192 shaders and 12 texture mapping units. With 1 GB we have half the video memory, but the memory interface is wider with 192 bits, and it actually has a slightly higher memory bandwidth of almost 100 GB per second. So let's remove the cooler and see what the actual GPU is. Here's the chip, and we can see it has GF116-400-A1 written on it. A quick Google search shows that this is the GTX 550 Ti GPU. All the other specifications, they also check out the core clock, memory clock, bus width and everything else. So now we know that this fake GTX 750 Ti is a modified GTX 550 Ti. The game in the background is one of my all-time favorites. This is Far Cry running at 1600 by 1200 resolution with ultra details and EAX sound. The retro Windows XP PC is a Core 2 Duo E8600. We got 4 GB RAM, and of course our fake GTX 750 Ti, but with modified 550 Ti drivers. Back to our fake video card. Once you realize that you got scammed, you can get your money back through the eBay process. If you paid with PayPal, you can also ask them for help. So far I've bought a fake GTX 960, which turned out to be a GTX 450 revision 2, and of course the GTX 750 Ti that we're looking at today. They are quite easy to identify. They all have that same looking dual fan GPU cooler. We have DVI, VGA and HDMI connections at the front, and there's a 6-pin power connector at the back. But what if you got scammed many months ago and you only now realized and you can't put in a claim anymore? Now you might be saying, well, look, it was quite cheap anyway and it's working, so I'm just gonna cut my losses. At least I've got a working video card. But there's more to it, because Windows and the GeForce drivers, they really believe that this is a GTX 750 Ti. It will actually install the wrong drivers, and that could cause issues, and I've got an example of this coming up. Let's take a quick look at the performance of our fake GTX 750 Ti. I put together another test system. This one has an i5-2400, 16 GB of RAM, and the latest copy of Windows 10 64-bit. In the CloudGate benchmark, the difference between our fake 750 Ti and the real one isn't that great. We can also see the fake 960 in this graph. But if we look at Firestrike, we can see a much larger difference. And the fake 960 couldn't complete. It just decides to crash halfway through the benchmark. We have another benchmark here. We have Dirt 3, and we're getting 67 FPS with the fake 750 Ti, but the real one delivers more than double the performance with 143 FPS. One key difference between the GTX 750 and the 550 is that the 750 has support for the Vulkan API. Here's a document from NVIDIA. We can see the 750 and 750 Ti. Those are listed as supported, but the 550 is not on the list. Here we have Doom running on the Gigabyte GTX 750 Ti. You can see MSI Afterburner running on the top left corner of the screen, and it clearly shows that the Vulkan API is being used. We're also getting fairly decent performance in this game. Wolfenstein 2 also runs with the Vulkan API, and by adjusting the resolution and the detail settings, we can also get this game to run pretty smooth on a real GTX 750 Ti. But what happens if we test these games on our fake 750 Ti? Doom runs fine with the OpenGL API, but as soon as we switch over to Vulkan, we get an error, which is expected because the GTX 550 Ti, it's not compatible. In Wolfenstein 2, the game also tries to load with the Vulkan API, and we get the same type of error. Now, Doom does support OpenGL, so if you've got the fake 750 Ti, you can switch over to the OpenGL API, but not Wolfenstein 2. That game seems to only support Vulkan. So if you've got a real GTX 750 Ti, you can play the game, but on the fake one, you are out of luck. So if you're unsure if you got a real 750, just run the Wolfenstein 2 demo and see what happens. But what about standard DirectX and OpenGL games? Let's try a bunch of games and see what happens. The first game is Tomb Raider. Now, all the games today we are running at 720p with low to medium details so that we get playable performance. Tomb Raider is an older game, so we have high details and the game seems to be running just fine with FPS anywhere between 50 to 80. Rise of the Tomb Raider is next. This game is a lot more demanding, but still playable with around 40 FPS. Also with this game I had no issues. I also tried the DirectX 12 option and I was looking for any graphical errors, but I couldn't find any. Project Cars. Now for this game I lowered all the details to the lowest settings. Turns out I could have gone with higher details as the game runs quite well with FPS between 60 to 80 FPS. Dirt Rally is next. We have medium details for this game and once again I couldn't see any graphical issues. The performance was also playable, but do keep in mind that all these games run at 720p. We got Prey running with medium details, not 60 FPS silky smooth, but definitely playable, and you can lower the details even further down to get higher FPS if you wish. Let's try a few older games. We've got Portal 2. Well, this is a game that runs extremely well on our fake GTX 750 Ti. I've maxed everything out and we're getting FPS in the triple digits. So with that much headroom, the game will easily run at 1080p. We have the original Prey. This game also runs extremely well. There seems to be some sort of FPS cap going on, but that can likely be removed with some tweaks, and I'm sure that this game is old enough to run silky smooth at 1080p on this video card. And here we've got Dead Space, a really beautiful looking game with nice shadows and lighting. Also very good surround sound. Another older game that runs great on this card, shouldn't be an issue running at 1080p. But does it run Crysis? Well, we got Crysis Warhead for a change. Details are set to Gamer, which seems to be one setting below very high. The game looks good and runs great, but for 1080p the video card might not have enough performance. So that was a little bit surprising. Apart from the Vulkan issues, I couldn't find another game that gave me any trouble. I expected all sorts of issues. Now, although this video is about the 750 Ti, I also did some tests with the GTX 960 that we looked at previously. Remember how this card has fake 4 GB of RAM, when in fact it only has 1 GB of physical memory? Well, this turns out to be a real problem. In every game I tried, as soon as MSI Afterburner shows the VRAM usage approach 1 GB, the game will crash or freeze. I tried Doom, Prey, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Dirt Rally, and it happened in all the games. Here we can see me increasing the detail levels in Rise of the Tomb Raider, and here we go, over 900 meg, and that's it, the game crashes. So my tip, if you're looking for a free video card and try to scam the scammer basically, is to go with a video card that has a gig of RAM and not for one of those that come with fake 4 GB of memory. I also got some good feedback about patching the drivers. Under Windows XP I edited the device ID number in one of the INF files. That would let me install an older driver that has support for the 550, but is too old to know what the 960 is. Under Windows 10 you can do the same thing, but you have to disable driver signature enforcement. You can then also edit the INF file or just manually pick the 550 Ti through Device Manager. So there you have it, guys. Although the fake GTX 750 Ti is a much older 550 Ti, that card is still compatible with DirectX 12, so you can play most modern games just fine. Of course, you might have to lower the resolution and detail settings, but I was quite impressed with how well this old video card ran these games. And I believe this is the reason why the scammers are so successful. People buy this card, the games work, and they don't know what a real 750 does in terms of performance, and they might lower a few details, but in general people are happy, it works and everything seems to be running fine. All the games you can max out all the details and they should run silky smooth with well over 60 FPS. And it turns out that this card is faster than the fake GTX 960, and it also doesn't have the issues with the video memory. Now, I don't think I'm done with these fake video cards just yet. Thanks to your comments on the last video, I'm waiting for a serial chip programmer to arrive, and hopefully we're able to flash these video cards back to their original state. And that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about these fake video cards, and if you did buy a fake GTX 750 Ti, share your experiences. Did all your games work like mine did, or did you run into any issues, and if so, which games were affected? As always, if you found this video interesting and you want to see more content like it, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you soon with another one.